All right, so hello to our participants. Happy Saturday and welcome to Open House. My name is Danielle Atanasio and I work in the SUNY Plattsburgh Admissions Office. Thank you for joining our physics and computer science academic breakout session. We've got two wonderful panelists here today who have some information for you about their respective programs, but you'll also have the ability to ask questions. You can actually even turn your camera on and ask those questions live if you're interested in doing that. We're going to save some time specifically at the end, but if you have anything that pops up while our presenters are talking, feel free to throw them into the chat box as well, and we can answer them at any point that makes sense. If you have any tech issues, as Allison said in the beginning, feel free to send those in the chat as well, and we'll try to get those resolved for you. But I will turn it over to our panelists to introduce themselves and get started with their presentations.
Hi, I'm Dr. Hart. I'm with the Computer Science Department.
And hi, I'm Dr. Walters. I'm with the Physics Department.
So I'll start the presentations off. In the Computer Science Department, so I'm chair of the department, and I've been there many years, and I'm also an alumni of SUNY Plattsburgh, and so it's it's a program that I'm happy to be a part of. I can tell you a little bit about what it was like to be a student long ago, but anyways, we have four majors that we participate in the computer science department. Our biggest in terms of number of majors and kind of the traditional degree program is the computer science program. And I'm going to go through a little bit on each of them in a bit. And then we have computer security, information technology, and then we partner with the physics department to offer a robotics program. So for the computer science major, it's between 43 and 52 credits. And this is out of 120 credits major that you're going to need for your bachelor's. And so that what that means is that you're going to have a fair amount of room to do other things if you want to. And this is intentional because there isn't just one computing career. There's a large variety of different directions people can go with computing. And so what we've done with our computer science major is try to have a core of what every computer science student should know, and then students can add additional courses and material that suit what their interests are. So many of our students, they just take as many technical courses as they can, and that's a very valid approach. But some other students, they want to double major, let's say biology or music or education. There's a lot of different directions that people can go, and computers are in everything, and it can be really valuable to combine computing with another interest that you have. So there's many different careers that you can go with computing. The biggest ones that we think about with computer science is software development, and software development has a lot of growth that's expected over the next few years, and students get good paying jobs right out the door. And also computer science would be like the degree that you'd want to do if you want to do like a data science or to go to graduate school for computing. As I said, there isn't one career path, and computer security has been a field that has just really exploded over the last few years in terms of interest as a career path. And it's kind of unfortunate it's exploded because there's so many computer security problems that are out there. Computers are in everything. That means that the vulnerabilities associated with software are in everything also. So there's a lot of work that computer security professionals can do. Again, we've taken kind of a core approach where we try to give you the basics, the fundamentals, and then you choose a concentration about which kind of direction that you want to go. And so we have these four different concentrations to specialize your computer security work. And then like a lot of our students, they do the threat analysis one. because that's the one where you go on to be like a security analyst. Intrusion detection is another popular one, and that is one related to like penetration testing types of things. One thing I'll also say about our computer security degree versus cybersecurity degrees offered at other schools is we focus a lot more on the core fundamental aspects of the field versus the tools. And the tools are great, and we do some things with cybersecurity tools, but the problem in basing your degree around tools is that the tools change quickly. You know, every couple of years, there are different things that are coming out and happening. And so by focusing on the fundamentals, we can provide more lasting value for you. As I said, like the information security analyst is like a typical type of job that you do. And there's a lot of job growth in that area over the next few years. Network engineer is another example. And then some students do go on to do like graduate type school. Another applied type of program that we offered is an information technology degree. And this one's a little bit smaller than the others. It's more focused. So like if we think about computer science as where you're doing software development and creating new solutions to problems, information technology is where you're taking existing software packages and making them work for an organization, right? So, you know, when companies write software systems, there is a general software package, and it has to be customized to fit into the specific needs that a company has. A type of job related to this is like a system administrator type of job. Database administrator is another type of job, or help desk technician. So these are jobs where you work on configuration and kind of helping users solve problems. Generally, there's less software development, although software development can be a part of these types of jobs. But it's, you know, software development can be challenging and not everybody enjoys it. So everybody can do software development, but whether you enjoy it or not is a different thing. And so like IT is kind of a career path for students who enjoy computers and technology, but they don't enjoy the programming aspect as much. It's kind of a typical direction. And then I'm going to let Dr. Walters speak about the robotics program. As you might notice, the robotics program has the highest number of credits out of the majors that we participate in. And that's just because there's so much to know related to it. But it's another great and exciting field, and we're very happy to be a part of that program. One of the things that we do here at in the computer science department is it's really valuable to get hands-on experience to work and to do things. You know, you can talk about all these ideas, but a fair amount of this is skill-based. You actually have to do it in order to have it sink in, and so we have a lot of different opportunities for students to get that hands-on experience. On an individual basis, students can participate in internships or research projects. I would say, you know, probably 10 to 20% of our students over the summer do internships, usually in organizations, you know, kind of local to wherever they're at. And they just do that to earn some money or to get additional experience and stuff like that. We also have a number of group experiential opportunities. We have a very exciting set of courses called the Tech Startup courses, where students are running a multi-semester software engineering project. So they have a couple of different projects that they have going on. One is right now they have a project where they're using cameras to track kind of what's inside someone's refrigerator to keep a shopping list. Another is like a game built on the Unreal Engine. And so they're doing these projects, and rather than just having it you know, starting and stopping it, students are able to participate in this project over multiple semesters. And that's something that's relatively unique to Plattsburgh. Most places have like what we have call our studio or project courses are experiential opportunities where you go and you do the project for a semester and then nobody touches that project again. Those are valuable courses, but it's just it's a different type of interaction. It's more self-contained. And for our computer security students, and really for all of them, we also have a lot of students who participate in the college's Center for Cybersecurity and Technology. And this is a sandbox environment where they're able to play with cybersecurity tools and to get a lot of experience. And they have activities and guest speakers and lots of different things that occur through them. We also have a couple of student groups. The Coding Hub group is the most active one right now, and they are just about writing software and getting experience and practice doing software. They've actually partnered up with the Student Association to help the Student Association out with some of their software needs. So like they wrote an app, like a mobile app, to track where the Student Association shuttle is, so students could more easily ride the shuttle. They're also been working on like a mentoring type of application too. And so they have a bunch of different events. There's also a software engineering club. They haven't been as active with the pandemic sort of things, but what they've been doing, they've had more of a career-oriented focus. So they more like field trips to job fairs, and they sponsored a hackathon 2 years ago, which brought lots of people in. And so they've had a lot of more kind of professionally oriented activities. As far as what you would do in your first semester here, we have a number of options. So the 121 and 152 and 122 are courses that don't assume any prerequisites. So wherever you're at in terms of your background, you're able to take these courses and get some experience with the computer science courses in the field. Our Introduction to Programming course has a prerequisite of pre-calculus. And so if you haven't taken pre-calculus, then the other class that we would recommend when you first come in is to take pre-calculus so you could get that prerequisite done with. If you do have prerequisite and you're coming in, you can also take the Introduction to Programming course, and we also have a discrete math course that requires a pre-calculus also. So that's kind of a quick overview of the computer science department, and I'll let Dr. Walters speak about the physics programs.
There we go. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for coming today. I'm going to talk about physics and the robotics program. And so physics comes in various flavors. We have our Bachelor's of Science Physics degree. That's sort of your traditional physics degree. When you think of a physicist, maybe going to graduate school, getting their PhD, going into academia, it's the path I took to get to this point. There's the BA program. The BA program is a more flexible program. I usually recommend the BA program for my students who aren't sure if they want to go to engineering school for our 3+2 program, which I'll talk about in a second. But they want to have that flexibility. So maybe they're thinking about going in they want to get their bachelor's in physics and a master's in engineering. I recommend the BA program because it allows you to focus down on what is important to you. So if you're going to go, let's say for electrical engineering, you can take more courses shaded that way versus if you were heading towards maybe a mechanical engineering degree, you take different courses. So that BA gives you that flexibility. Our 3+2 program allows you to go 3 years at SUNY Plattsburgh. And basically what you do is you get most of your general education courses out of the way, all your general education courses usually out of the way. You get your physics courses out of the way. And while you're taking those physics classes, you basically take the introduction to the engineering courses you would have at whatever engineering school you go to. And then assuming your grades are good and you apply and get accepted, you could then transfer to an engineering school, and typically in 2 years, just take the engineering courses that you need. And by the end of that time, what you do is you graduate from the engineering school, let's say Clarkson, because I'm a graduate of Clarkson, so I'll throw that out there. So let's say you graduate from Clarkson with your BS in civil engineering. You would then transfer back some of those credits to SUNY Plattsburgh, and we bestow upon you a BA in physics. So it's a neat way of getting 2 degrees in 5 years. The physics gives you that generalized background, and the engineering for the specific roles that you're in. We also have a really cool physics BA MST program, which allows you to be prepared for teaching in high school. And so what ends up happening is during your time in your BA, working on your physics degree, you could start taking your education courses before you actually get to that master's level. So it's a little bit cheaper. And the best thing about it, in my opinion, is it gets you in the classroom early. You're not teaching, you're still learning. But what it does is allows you to see what happens behind the curtain. A lot of times we see what our high school or college professors are doing, and you think that's pretty neat. And then when you look at what everything they do, you're like, maybe I don't want to do that. Or maybe, yes, that is the thing I want to do. So we have that there. And lastly, our newest program is robotics, which we do in conjunction with computer science. And it's exciting because that program allows you to do it in 2 flavors. We can concentrate in hardware, which is sort of the side that I teach, or concentrate in software, which is over in the computer science side. And no matter which way you do it, you will get the opportunity to do a little bit on the other side of the house, because robotics is basically that meeting of hardware and software. Go ahead, next slide. I'll remember the exponential. So some of the advantages of SUNY Plattsburgh physics, small classes. That's a huge thing. So your first classes could have 30 to 40 students in it, introduction to physics, let's say. But once you're past that point, the classes in the physics department drop down to 12, 14 students. So you really do have that one-on-one time with the professor. We very much have an open door policy. That picture is my office a few years back when I was still, I've moved since then, but I had, I think, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's another 2 people I didn't get a picture in here. I had way too many people in my office that day, and there was somewhere outside. Our doors are constantly open. And so I have had students walking down the hallway. Hey, can you help me with a physics problem? Or having some trouble with math? They stop in and we discuss things. We discuss life. It's a great thing to have. And that connection is what is key to a small college versus a large university. Mentorships and advising. SUNY Plattsburgh is awesome. They have you work with your advisor at least once a semester to keep you on track, make sure you're going to graduate on time, make sure you're taking the correct courses. But we also go ahead and help you try to figure out what you want to do with your life. When I was 18, I had no clue what I wanted to do. Matter of fact, I didn't even want to be a physicist at the time. I was just sort of coasting and trying to figure out what to make up. And the mentorship of my professors at where I was going to undergraduate really pushed me along. And we try to pay that forward. You see that happening where we are there for you and trying to help you decide, you figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, what you're interested in, where your passions are, and try to put you in those spots to succeed. Our department is great because we have a mix of theoreticians and experimentalists. That's really important. So if you want to get your hands dirty doing experiments, we have your people. If you are more interested in running equations or writing big computer simulations or small computer simulations, we have people for that too. And we think it's really important that you see that mix, because then, once again, you might not know where you want to focus, and this allows you to try different things to see if the focus works. And lastly, and I could talk forever about this last piece, experiential learning focused. We want you to do stuff. It's not, you could pick up a book and learn from a book, right? I could pick up a book, I could read the book and try to understand the book. But until you try to apply what is there, you don't really own it. So what do I mean by experiential learning? On the physics side, we have various lab courses, even upper level lab courses. We have an optics program, optics course, where you get into a lab and you learn what it means to really do, what does it mean to align optical systems? How do I use these fancy pieces of equipment to measure things? On the robotics side, that whole program is based upon experiential learning. You start off learning Arduinos, which are little motor controllers. Then you move up to Raspberry Pis and doing introduction to robotics. This here, he's not fixed yet. He's in the middle of being built. This is Kiff. This is the textbook for that course. So you get to make Kiff do the things you want him to do. Do the behaviors, as they would call it in robotics speak. Have Kiff show appropriate behaviors. During your junior level, we put you in a team and we give you a really difficult problem to solve. This fall, we're going to have one of the difficult problems will be creating 5 robots and having them play zombie tag with each other. And then the last year you are here is your senior project, where you have by then know where you want to go, hopefully. And you propose a project and work with your advisor, and you develop a robot on your own. And you try to do this whole thing and you document it online. And so you can see, so you can show employers or future grad schools what you were working on. And also it's just neat to be able to put it down. One of the ones, at the end of this, I can give you an address, but if you wanted to look up mechandcheese.com or .wordpress.com, that's one of my students' sites right now, and he's trying to develop a walking robot, and he has documented the journey on WordPress for people to watch. One of the other great opportunities is we have an awesome planetarium on campus, the North Country Planetarium. And what I love about this place is the students run it. We have a person who's in charge. Lisa Beth Kisner is awesome. She's the planetarian in charge. But what's great is she has her students, who are called docents, come in. They help develop programs. They run the equipment. They run the shows. They will go in and give presentations during the shows. So if this is something that you love, the nighttime sky, this is a great place to come, because then you can try to inspire that love to other people. When it's not pandemic time, the planetarium has on order of, let's say, 60 to 80 shows every year. I mean, it's constantly being used. And the students are able to develop new things. There was, just before COVID, we were having shows where they're doing laser shows in there and putting on music and having laser shows. It's just awesome. But the fact that you get to use this high-end equipment as an undergraduate is great. In student research, so on the physics side, we have people doing student research. And what I'm going to do is let Dr. Padala talk to you about what he does on his own. And for some reason, oh, there it goes.
Over here's a plate here where a bunch of salt grains are scattered around on the surface. If I turn up the amplitude, these are the hopefully form a little crazier. It's also get a little louder. But what you'll see is that there's a sort of preferential place where these sand grains go. And what I like to do from some of my research is to figure out why this happens and what happens when magnetic materials are on this plate. These set of experiments, I use the reflective properties of the film to use for recording properties that are much more energy efficient than the current computers use in using your cell phone. To do this, I use a vacuum chamber which goes to 1 billionth vat of air pressure. And inside there, what I could do is I could take these little pellets here, and these pellets will melt and evaporate, kind of like steam hot. And as they evaporate, I put chips, like the silicon one right here, and I can actually get a little material on it. And with this material, I can put them into different measurement devices to see the reflective properties, how to find the signatures that would actually store and transmit information. Students have been doing these projects with me for many years, and we've got some great papers out of it, and I look forward to working with many more students in the future. But I also love to teach physics. One of my favorite laws of physics is Cole's law. You know that side of cabbage and mayo you eat with barbecues? But seriously, I love to teach physics so much I decided to give back by helping write this University Physics Open Text textbook that's free to download as a PDF, so students all around can basically see how I teach and appreciate how to learn physics without cost as a barrier. I also like to do fun student projects like this one, where the students built this pumpkin checking trebuchet, took it over to Vermont, and had one competition awards, like this trophy here, based on how far the pumpkins flew in the air with their pumpkin checking coach. It's a great way to show applied physics knowledge in action.
Now, next clip, we don't have to play the whole thing, but the one down there is part of my research right now. We were trying to go ahead and do what's called human-robot interaction, human-machine interaction, HMI. And what this is we're trying to use a commercial product, Alexa, to control a wheelchair. This is my student, Almas. So there's going to be lots of, we can shut down that to see the thing. Yeah, we're going to. So we have lots of research. We could do things. It's great. These are the things that help you with your resume going forward, no matter what you're trying to do, is doing these types of experiential things, even outside the classroom. Go ahead and we'll go to the next one. Physics club, we have lots of club-driven things. The car you see in the upper right-hand side is an electric car. Our students came to us and said, we want to build an electric car. We said, cool, let's go figure out a way to do this. And we did. And so it's mostly built. The student who really wanted it graduated. So anybody who wants to come and finish the car, I make this pitch every year for every time. I'm hoping somebody will get excited and want to finish up the car. We also do drones, as you can see down below. We have a 1 meter drone there. It flies through the sky like a lumbering elephant, but it is a wonderful thing to see. On the next slide, it is cool though. In competitions, and yep, we can go right past the quick questions, is fine. Competitions is important to me. I like, not because I want to win, matter of fact, I expect to lose. My biggest thing is I want people to learn things, and the best way to do it is like, you only have this amount of time, get it done. And it really just focuses you down. And later on, if anybody's interested, I can show you, I can send some videos to you of things we did at competition, which is just really cool to see what you are capable of doing when you put your mind to it. That's the important thing. Once again, and by the way, that's old Kiff. So you saw a new Kiff today. That's old Kiff. That's like that Kiff generation. That's generation 2. We're up to generation 4 right now.
Awesome. So thank you very much for both of those presentations. That was awesome information. I wanted to open the floor for questions. So if you want to come on camera and ask your questions live, feel free to do that. But I do have one that came through a little earlier from the chat. And the question is from Jody, and it was, would computer science be the appropriate major for video game design and development?
Yes. So, yeah, video games are actually interesting. There's a lot of different aspects to video games. So there's a programming part. There's also a bunch of different media parts. And so like if, depending on what your interests were, I definitely would recommend, picking up some programming skills. And we definitely have some students who are interested in doing projects along those lines. But, there's other areas too that you might look into also exploring.
And I will say with the programming of video games, it's amazing how much of that stuff actually translates over to robotics as well. So you might even want to pick up a robotics course just to see, because like the AI, motion planning, things of that nature, all are interactive between just on the screen and also in the physical world.
That's
Yeah,
true.
definitely.
I never thought about that. So I know we had some people hop in after we started. So just as a reminder, you can type in questions right into the chat feature if you have any questions for our panelists, but you can also, you should be able to unmute yourself and ask your questions live if you have any as well. And then we will be watching the chat for some incoming questions. But I have a couple that are commonly asked that I can ask for us for inspiration.
So I have some general comments too. One thing I would recommend to all of you, no matter what you choose to do is make the most out of college. And no matter where you go and what you do, college is usually opportunities. So it's not like high school where you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that. College is a place where you get to do different things, but you have to kind of usually take the initiative to go out and grab hold of them and take advantage of them. And definitely, there's lots of great opportunities, but they're not going to say, hey, you have to actually go out and grab them.
Mm-hmm. I agree wholeheartedly.
So one common question that gets asked is about like labs and facilities. And I know that we saw some pictures of some of the facilities that both of these departments utilize. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the labs that students will use and whether or not you would be able to use those even in your first year at college.
So for the computer science,
either program.
Yeah, for computer science, we have a teaching lab that has like 30 laptops, and we use that. And 30 is about the maximum size of almost all of our courses. So again, although 30 is a little bit large, it's much smaller than many other places. So there's a teaching lab. That's usually pretty busy with classes during the week, but when there isn't a class in there, students are available to access that. We also have some smaller labs. So we're in Beaumont. Both of our departments are in Beaumont. And so like our teaching lab is on the 3rd floor. We have some smaller labs on the 2nd floor. Like we have a 10-person lab, and then a 6-person and a 4-person. So there's a bunch of different spaces that you can make use of, and those are always available to people.
Let's see, I'll respond. Well, I couldn't read the whole question. I'm on an iPad, unfortunately, so I can't see all the chat all the time. So in terms of the physics spaces, so we are sort of split now. The robotics is 100% in Beaumont, room 301G, where you saw the wheelchair moving. That's the primary robotics lab. We have some storage rooms there. We have some lab space there. There's also a little bit of lab space down below. There are in-person labs though over in Hudson. We have our intro labs over there. We also have the optics lab there. Like I said, we have a devoted room just to do optics lab. We also have some labs upstairs in Hudson, in Beaumont. One of my favorite things though, I will say, and computer science has this too, we have areas, a commons area for our students to go ahead and sit there and interact with each other. And one of my favorite things is to walk down the hallway and listen to students teaching students, because they'll be like, hey, I'm having a problem with this. Oh, I took that course. Wait, what were you having a problem with? In watching that interaction, yes, we can help you, but sometimes having your peers help you is so much more satisfying. And you learn more because they are at your level. That's why they're your peers. so it really does work out having that mentorship even within the department. So what was the question about the robotics part?
So there's a question about what's happening during the fall.
During the fall, I'm hoping everything is going to be relatively normal. We'll see. I mean, right now, as we were told, our numbers, so we were forced to have 6-foot spacing inside classrooms, and there was an option of Zoom versus not Zoom. And now in the physics department, we are going back to mostly in-person classes because they've shrunk that down to 3-foot spacing. And since our classes are smaller, we are able to hold them in the spaces we have. I know for some other majors, it's a little bit harder to do. So
incoming, the RBT 122 physical computing class would be something that, is available to students, and that's going to be in person.
Yes.
So that's, we are, right now we're playing on a little bit, 3-foot social distancing capacity, but in general, most of our spaces work out for that.
And by the way, we also have lots of contests, but we have 1 or 2 contests we do every year, which hopefully will be back alive. And so if you're a robotics person coming in, jump in on that. Seriously, just come to, you could know nothing. We don't care. We will start helping you get up to speed. The students are great about that.
So I got a direct question as well a couple minutes ago. and it was kind of directed towards robotics. And that question was, are you admitted directly into these programs, or do you have to apply into them after a year or two of being at Plattsburgh?
No, you can come in straight as a robotics student. That's not a problem. Any of these programs, there are some that are selective. There are, but these programs are not that way. The only thing I would suggest is if you're coming in as robotics, if you can get pre-calc out of the way in high school, that's an awesome thing to have. If you don't, that's fine. You can come in. There is a pathway still to graduate. The robotics major, the only negative, it's not even a negative, but the only negative to the robotics major is it's so intensive in terms of credits that if you want to become a robotics major, it's better early on to know that's what you want to do so you can chart that course. And it's just because there's so much to learn. It really is, because there's the software side, the hardware side, and trying to mingle those two things together. The great thing about it is if you like robotics, I mean, that's what you will be taking. Once you get past that first year, a good chunk of your courses are devoted towards the robotics major itself.
So there's a question about the number of students in classes. And on the computer science side, most of our classes, as I mentioned, max out at about 30. And a lot of our classes are at that level of 30 students. So there's some like 20, 25, but a lot of the classes do fill.
I saw one asking about what you take as a freshman. So in terms of physics, I'll do in physics and robotics, then I think Dr. Hart already talked about the computer science side. But for physics, you would take your introductory physics 1 and 2 during your freshman year, as well as calculus. Those are the two big things. By the way, we throw trigonometry in there because when you're taking calculus, you need the trig, and it's a good refresher. And for the robotics side, you're going to take basically sort of the same sort of things as physics. By the way, that second semester is usually where we put you in program. So you'll take robotic RBT 122, which is the physical computing, as a robotics major. You'll take that also in your fall semester. And then in your spring semester, we usually try to get you introduction to programming. So you're ready to go in the next fall when you start hitting introduction to robotics itself.
I don't have any feedback on the medical technology majors.
There's a breakout room. We were given the go-ahead to stick around until like 12:10 at the latest because the next session doesn't start until 12:15. But there is a breakout room for specifically the sciences, and there might be someone there who might be able to tell you more about medical technology. I was a bio major here, and when I was a first-year student, I took Bio 101, I took Physics 1, because there are some what they call like cognate requirements that you would take in conjunction with your biology or your biomedical science degree. So you're probably looking at biology, Bio 101, some general education classes if you haven't had those credits already. And usually you're able to throw in an elective or two each semester for the bio majors.
And I just put in my email address in case before people start drifting off to other places.
I'll try to get mine in there.
I can put yours in there too if it's easier for you.
Thank you. Limitations of technology. My laptop was dead, so I couldn't do it.
So Mike, if they've taken pre-calculus, what would they be taking? And they're taking physics also in high school. What would you recommend when they come in?
So definitely we'd still stick with RBT 122. They need physical computing. That would be a great one to have. We could get you, if you've already taken the physics and accounts, we could put you into intro to programming as well, if there's space there, because that would still work. And then, I mean, if you had all physics out of the way, we could put you directly in intro to robotics. It's just make sure you have the physics out of the way because we talk about some physics principles inside that class. Let's see, I'm trying to think what else is open in the fall currently for this time around.
Do you know if, I don't know if this is an AP physics or just a general high school physics class, but do you know if you have AP physics, if that usually is just physics 1 or? If you,
general physics, okay, so general physics, because if you had physics C, then you go straight on, at least physics 2, usually. AP physics gives you credit for 103 and 104, which is our algebra-based physics. When you come here, you'll be taking the calculus-based physics. So yeah, so probably then if you're taking just general, if you're taking general physics, it's not just general physics, it's physics, it's still count. But if you're taking physics, but you don't have the calculus-based physics, you're going to have to take physics here. It's just a different animal, and you get to see what it is when you start throwing calculus into it.
I had taken calculus. I had never taken physics. I had taken calculus and AP calculus in high school and came in with credit. And I still chose to retake calculus when I got here just to cover my bases for my foundation. Because obviously it's a different instructor, and especially with a program like physics or robotics, your foundation in calculus is really important. So that was just me, but.
Yeah. And usually, so I'll be honest, when I have physics majors come in, even if they've taken physics C, I sometimes still recommend them taking 111 and 112, just because that's your major. And sometimes if you're missing something, you don't realize you're missing it. And you go forward and you start stumbling because you just didn't have that foundation underneath you. Sometimes they don't want to. And once again, we advise. So that's one thing I do want to emphasize. You still can pick your way usually through things. But we do advise, and we try to make sure, let's set you up for success. We don't want to see failure. We hate seeing failure. The robotic overlords don't like that.
Any other questions, everybody? This is great. Lots of good participation. Thank you for that.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, by next year, hopefully we'll have our FTC and FLL, for those of you who are from that genre, those groups on campus. We'll see. If not, we're still looking for mentors. I mentor a group here in Plattsburgh that does both. So if you have done FLL or FTC and you're like, geez, I'm sort of going to miss it not being here, become a mentor. We would love to have you. Matter of fact, that's where I am right now. My group is doing in the other room. Let's see. Physics 2. Cool. You might be able to. You definitely might be able to. The question, and we can discuss that, because everything comes down to an individual basis. But I would feel, if you're doing that right now, yeah, I'd feel comfortable with that.
As a junior in high school, that's really impressive.
Yeah,
a lot of work.
And the other thing is just, for those of you, just make sure you're just, I guess my last little bit of advice is just make sure you're excited about something. I mean, that's fun. It's a lot of fun, especially when you start hitting hard points. If you're really excited about it, find those passions and run with them.
I'm going to stop recording our session, but again, we have a couple minutes to hang out. So if anyone has any last minute questions, you can still feel free to throw them into our chat box.